October 30th, 2015, Friday, the last trading day of the month. This is ALGO PRIME MAGNUS, currently in development. I'm showing you simply the two time frames that we're currently working with under development. A third time frame is being added. And in addition to that, we hope to add maybe one or two other features that can also be of help to traders. This is an entirely fully automated algorithmic trading system based on the Logik Ultimate Renko bar. I'm going to show you about three charts today that we ran. This is a 5-tick 1x100 chart, and we opened this chart at 9:30 with market open Eastern Standard Time, and it did take a first trade right here, capitalized on the first contract. We have a 10-tick stop loss on this particular chart. So again, you have a risk of about $100. All of our charts are trading just two contracts. So there's a $100 risk now plus. Of course, if you get slippage, you can push that up to 110, 120 if you're stopped out of both contracts. And here we're taking an entry exactly 3 ticks off the previous bar's close. Again, these are trailing entries that is fully automated. And it did take off the first contract and lost a couple of ticks on the second. So that was the first trade out of the chute this morning. And then we had another one that came up at 9:50, 36 seconds thereafter. We had a trade that capitalized actually on both contracts. Again, what we're doing here is we're simply scalping the market. If you're going to scalp market, it's best to use an automated system. Now, that is not the way that other people may choose to trade this system, but this is how I have it set up. So we can see we received an entry here. We lost on both contracts on that trade. We had another entry here at 10:04, another entry at 10:11. We had a loss on a trade at 10:15. And we had another trade at 10:41 for both contracts. We had another trade at 11 o'clock. And we capitalized on the first contract and took a small loss on the second. The other trade came in on the 11:38 bar. Actually, it was just above that, at the not quite to the fill of that bar. And anyway, let's just take a look at the trades here. We've got two other charts to get to. So we had a good trade, a good trade, a good trade. Again, I'm not looking to necessarily to scalp more out of this market. It is possible, depending on how you choose to place your stop loss, your trailing stop loss. So here we have another trade, trade. I remember what happened there in the afternoon after 2 o'clock. The market was into a huge sell-off. So the system is, at least the style of trade, is that it waits for a trend, a pullback, and then an entry. That is also reminiscent, of course, of ALGO Prime 1, those of you who own that system. That's based entirely on bar counting. This is based on a wave pattern. I'm not actually showing the waves on the chart, but also, if you decide to own the system, you will have the opportunity, the options of setting those parameters as you choose. You can play around with the waves. They have phase settings to them. You can use median, typical, close, high, low. Those will also be options that you have. And you can, again, choose different sizes. So the wave we have in the background that's coloring the chart is from another time frame, or Renko bar frame. So let's look at the next chart. This is the 5x1x100. We also ran a 9x1x100. We started trading also at 9:30. And we're basically, this is a very tight trade looking for small scalps. We have a very minimal pullback. In fact, before this bar actually filled right here where we get the green background, the trade was already in. So we had a trade here, other trade, can see that on these minimal pullbacks, we were able to capitalize. And all in all, it did pretty well today. I'm just trading 2 contracts. There's one last chart I'll show you. This chart here on the right is exactly the same size as the chart on the left. The chart on the left is the one that I showed you at the very beginning, and this one right here is the final chart, the third chart. Again, these 2 charts being the same, but the entries are slightly earlier in this one. Therefore, the stop loss is 8 ticks here, or $80 for 2 contracts in the YM, as opposed to a 10-tick stop loss on this chart here on the left. So you can see that there is some favorability by allowing for, in this case, a entry that's 2 ticks earlier. Again, depending on slippage, you may have an order that ends up getting slipped 1 or 2 ticks further down. So, in either case, this one came out very close. I think there were actually perhaps fewer trades in this chart, but then I started this chart too for 6 a.m. And so it did well on the first trade coming out. Then we took a loss on that trade. Again, with algorithmic trading, you know what your losses are going to be, or thereabouts, depending on slippage, because you can simply set that as an automated trailing stop. And so in this case here, you can see our stop was placed down here when we took the long, exactly as we had on the other chart, except that the trade on the other chart actually didn't signal a trade, because the actual entry signal, while it was given, it didn't actually take that trade. And I'm not exactly sure why it didn't, but it was apparently missed, and it could be that price jumped right there. So what we end up with here is a trade that got in and capitalized. I have also here, rather than a 7 and 8 tick win, as I do here on the first chart I showed you on the left, this one here we're looking for an 18 tick win, a much larger win. So we took out the first contract, came back, took out the second contract with this trailing stop. Then you'll notice that pretty much the trades were somewhat in sync. Again, I'm using a different style of entry here. Same trend, different entry. So that's why you see variations in the actual trades, although there is some synchronicity in the trades that occurred, as is right here. Again, we were looking for a much farther target. Almost within 1 tick of reaching that target. That certainly would have helped our profitability for the day had that occurred. Alright, well this takes us then, we're now to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This takes us right into market close. Looks like there was one last trade that popped off around 15 after 3 p.m. in the afternoon, New York Standard Time.